G'day everyone, it's Craig here and I am going to take you through what I'm packing in my camera bag for 2021. Now I'm going to take you through four main areas. Firstly, the cameras that I'll be using. Secondly, the lenses. Third is the tripod, and then finally, all the peripherals that come along with me in my pack. So let's get stuck in. My main camera that I'll be using this year will be the Nikon Z6. Now I recently picked up this camera and I did a quick video on it, sharing my thoughts on the camera. Look, the main reasons that I picked this up is because of the ability to do 4K video with great video autofocus. It can do 120 FPS as well with at 1080p. It has good eye detect autofocus and a really good viewfinder coverage for the focus points as well. So this will be my main camera for this year, and I'm really looking forward to having a smaller form factor camera that I can wrap my hands around for the year. The next camera will be my backup body, and this is the Nikon D810. Now this has been my mainstay for the past few years, and I picked it up mainly because of the pixel density and the landscape photography that I was focusing on. It's a great build quality, all-round great camera, professional build. I can't fault it in any way, shape or form. It just started to lack the technology around the eye detect autofocus, and particularly in particular the video features it lacked a little bit. But from a still camera's perspective, it is still great, and this will be my backup body throughout the year. Now, if we move into the lenses, now the first lens I want to talk about is the lens that I'm using at the moment, which is the Z-mount 24-70 f4 lens by Nikon. And this is a native lens for the Nikon Z series. And for a kit lens, it is very, very good. It is very small and compact. It has great image quality, both from a video and photography perspective, and it will just be my main run and gun lens that I'll be using with the Z6 throughout the year. It's great so far. It's produced some really good images when I've used it at some local family functions, and I'm really impressed with the outputs from a video perspective as well. Now the next lens I will be wanting to talk about is this one here, which is the Nikon 16-35 f4 lens. Now this is by no stretch of the imagination a new lens at all. It's probably been out for over a decade, but it is a great workhorse when it comes to landscape photography. It is just a really nice, solid landscape lens. There are some more, better lenses out there, but it's a great workhorse, good value for money, and it has never let me down. So yeah, this will be one of my mainstays this year. Next, let's talk about the Tamron 35-150 f2.8-4. Now, I picked this up when it first came out, probably just on a year and a half ago, and I picked it up because of its versatility. It has all the portrait focal lengths all in the one lens, so you don't have to interchange your lenses at all if you've got it going through using it at a function. It gets down to 2.8 at 35mm, and at 50mm it's about f3.2. So it's a great lens from that perspective. It goes all the way through the focal range. And then, from a sharpness perspective, it works particularly well. On an f-mount camera, like the D810, it's very quick autofocus and it hardly ever misses. I found it can be a little bit temperamental when it's adapted onto the Z series, but it does get there. So I'll be having this as well, just if I need a little bit of extra reach for anything that I'm doing. And then finally, the last little lens that I'd recommend everyone would have actually, and this is the little nifty 50. This is the Nikon 50mm 1.8G. Again, this has been around a long time, but it's good to have a little nifty 50 prime lens here where it gets all the way down to 1.8. So you can really blow out the background if you need to from a portraiture perspective, or you have a low light situation where you really need to have the aperture down at 1.8. Very cheap, it's about $300, and it doesn't take up a lot of room in your bag. So that's the fourth lens I'll be carrying with me. Now let's talk about my main tripod. Now this is it here. Now this is the K&F Concept KF TM2534T. Bit of a mouthful, but I can say I've had this for a couple of years now, and it has been probably the longest tripod that I've ever had from an ownership perspective. I do a lot of landscape photography at the beach, and so therefore I just destroy them with the salt water and the sand. They just get in all the joins and the cracks, and I just destroy them. This one here I've had for 2 years and is still in great condition. It has the locking mechanisms. They're not the levers, they're just the unscrew ones, and I really like that just because it makes it easier to clean and maintain. This center column is a real feature as well. This makes it extend all the way up to 1.8 meters. But the great thing about this is this center column is removable, and you can replace it with another one that's only about 3 inches that comes with the tripod as well. This allows you with the smaller center column to be able to get really low with some landscape photos and everything like that as well. So that's really good. And then probably finally the last thing that's really good is that this has the ability to come up and then come across on a right angle, this center column, which is really handy for me when I'm doing some video work with my YouTube channel. If I want to do a top-down shot, it's really handy to have that as well. The K&F Concept is just, it's a great solid tripod, and it'll be around with me again for at least another year. Now let's talk about all the peripherals. And the first thing I want to talk to you about is in here. Now this is a 6-stop filter, and this is by Breakthrough Photography. This is the X3, I think. This basically is the only filter that I carry. You know, a lot of landscape photographers will do a 6-stop, a 10-stop, you know, grad filters and everything. But I find just carrying the one, and the 6-stop is, I think, the sweet spot for that. And then I just adjust my ISO and then aperture accordingly to get the length of shutter that I require. So really solid, good quality neutral density filter. And the other thing that I always carry with it alongside is just a microfiber cloth. And I highly recommend everyone have this as well, just to keep your filters clean and obviously your lenses clean and everything. Come in really handy. Always have a microfiber cloth with you. Now the next thing I highly recommend, and it's not necessarily a piece of photography equipment, but it's this, and this is a first aid kit. Now don't think you'll ever not use this. I have used this a couple of times in the last 2 years. I was doing some landscape shooting. I wanted to get a composition at a river just slightly in the water. Took my shoes off, stood on some barnacles, sliced my foot open. So this came in really handy. I also twisted my ankles at the bottom of a fall last year and used the bandage in here just to sort of strap my ankle to help me get out of the falls and give it a bit of extra support. So highly recommend having one of these. And look, this one's just a little soft pack, so it doesn't take up a lot of room at all in your bag. Nice and light, so highly recommend having a first aid kit. Let's talk about some other peripherals quickly, and that is batteries. Always have some spare batteries for your cameras. Look, I would probably always normally only carry one, but since I got the Z6, mirrorless cameras do tend to go through the batteries a lot quicker than a standard digital SLR, so I carry 2 batteries. Next thing is really handy to have, especially if you're a landscape photographer, is one of these, and this is a remote shutter release. You do not want to have any pressure on your camera whatsoever when you've got your long shutters exposures going on, so having a remote shutter release just ensures that you're not touching the camera when you've got those 5, 10, 20-second exposures going. Keeps your hands off and makes sure the camera's really nice and still. Next thing I want to talk to you about is one of these, just a torch. You know, again, if you're up before sunrise or after sunset, you want to do some astrophotography. If you're out in the woods or something, you don't want to slip over on some rocks or whatever that will be, so you need some light. It could be one of these, or it can be something that you just whack on your head, one of those torches that go on your head. But this torch is, again, it's only little, so it doesn't take up a lot of room in your bag, but just have a light source handy with you at all times. And then finally, just memory cards. So what you don't want to do if you're having a good photography session is to run out of memory cards and you can't take any more photos. So I always carry a couple of spare memory cards. So these are the main things I'll be taking with me on a regular basis. There'll be occasions that I will have a few other different things on that I will need some other equipment, but I won't be taking them with me all the time, but I will take you through what they are. So if I know I'm gonna be taking some photos of people, particularly indoors, if it's like a family event or something like that, highly recommend grabbing a speed light, and this is the Nikon SB700. Super handy, so if you do enjoy taking photos of people and you're the local photographer at family events, make sure you get a speed light, come in really handy, especially if you're doing a lot of photography indoors. So grab yourself a speed light. I know I use this regularly. The next thing I've got is this. Now, if I'm doing a lot of video work, this is just a little mini microphone that you attach to your camera, and this is just a Boya one. It's only about $30, but it will drastically improve your audio quality, and that will really help with your audio. Okay, and then finally, again to do with video, and it's this little baby here, and this is the Zhiyun Weebill S. Picked this up about a year ago and it has been great. It can take a real heavy load. I used the Nikon D810 and the Nikon 16-35 f4 lens on this, and it takes a weight no issue whatsoever. So that's a great feature. What it also does, it has these nice locking points with the 3 axes, so it really, when it breaks down into a nice thin area, and it's easy to transport around as well. So that's a really handy feature. But the Weebill S is a great gimbal to have. So that's it. That's basically everything I'll be carrying around, the stuff that I'll be taking on a regular basis, and some other peripheral stuff that I'll be using in and out throughout the year. I hope you enjoyed my little tour of my gear. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Thanks, bye.